Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast. And what do you know? It's been a big week in gaming. I'm integot for episode 86 for Sunday, the 3rd of July, 2022. In this week's show, we'll be discussing NieR Automata, Persona, and more coming to the Switch this year. Return to Monkey Island's divisive art style leads to online abuse. We get a closer look and release date for the new Star Ocean and our impressions of the throwback beat-em-up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge.
Shut up! Big Wig's on the radio! Shut up! It's Gaming Focus Audio!
As always, I'm joined by Swinny.
Why, hello there.
And who is missing?
It's Mike.
Mike is
again.
missing. Oh, he's
look,
busy. He's doing real-world stuff.
I will say we knew that Mike couldn't make it this show as last week anyway, but just in the odd chance that he could have actually made it, we didn't say, "Oh, Mike's not going to be here next week."
That's true.
Because then it's locked in. But
I was thinking of making a Mike puppet and then just saying harassing, crazy stuff during the show, but no, I thought it would pass. But hey, if you want to check out all our links, check out the description or go to bigwigpod.com. Swinny, we have appetite for something. The audience has appetite for something. They're demanding you to come back.
and it's not an appetite for destruction. No, it is. There's some people wanting an update to the Chemco tier
There's
list.
dozens of people at least.
Our 2-hour 36 game Chemco tier list, and honestly, the original idea was that as I complete a Chemco game over time, when I talk about it on the show that week, we'll just bring it up and I'll add it in. But for whatever reason, it just turned out, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to wait for like maybe 4 or 5 of them in one go. And we're like, bring it up, I'll add that in, I'll add that in. And honestly, some of the more recent games I have not been a fan of. One of them I hated so much I stopped playing it, and the other one I think is absolute trash, and I also stopped playing it. So I'm gonna have to get back to them, but I do have, I think, currently 2 or 3 I can add to the list. So I was kind of waiting for those 5, but we'll see.
I always think that the way we should do the update is record a specific clip, and then add it to the end, and then just keep re-uploading the tier list as if it's from scratch, and it gets longer and longer and longer. So it's like a 3-hour tier list in the end. I think that'd be kind of funny, actually.
It's a tier list supercut. That's what it is.
Well, you could almost go, okay, this is version 1, and then you sort of go, okay, this is version 1.1. Okay, these are the changes. I'm actually going to move some of these things around. I don't know. In my head, that's a really funny idea. I'm sure the execution people will think that's a stupid idea.
No, the better idea is to redo the whole thing from scratch.
No, I'm kind of keen to do that because I want to lean into the cloud meme, the direction. Like have a counter on the screen. Which direction are they going in the intro? They're going north, northeast. I mean, this is like very deep knowledge that we're talking about that most people wouldn't know what the fuck we're talking about.
They remake movies, they remake games. You can remake tier lists. This will be like the Chemco All-Stars version,
Well, when did we do it? 2021 or 22?
We did it early this year.
Really? Holy shit, dude. That's crazy. Because I was going to say we could do the 2022 tier list.
It was around the time, it wasn't exactly the time, but it was around the time when the Activision Blizzard stuff hit. So it was like, because we had the midweek episode for that one as well.
Yeah, we don't want to cover that kind of stuff. We want to do a Chemco tier list.
Yeah. There's also a correction this week, and it is one that it is a correction and an apology to Mr. Host Integot here. I don't know if you've noticed, I actually made a comment on the clip that it relates to during the week.
I haven't seen it.
Yes. So we had our FromSoft segment where we talked about what From Software game they're working on and everything. And in my little intro to the segment, which I write for our YouTube description, but we also use it as like a spoken intro.
Yeah.
And Integot, you've said before that you're basically like Ron Burgundy.
Yeah, I just read what you write.
You'll just read what I write. And I unfortunately wrote Hidetaka Miyazaki's first name wrong.
Did I say his name wrong?
Because I wrote it wrong. So you ended up saying Hidetaki Miyazaki, which rhymes, which is just really unfortunate. And it's Hidetaka Miyazaki. So I wrote the comment in that clip My apologies. It was my mistake, and you are basically Ron Burgundy. So
I actually I'm not that familiar with his first name, because it feels like
that's
everyone
fair
just says Miyazaki. He's not
Yeah.
quite to the Shigeru Miyamoto level yet, although he will be.
Well, it's. I made a point to remember. Obviously, I wrote it wrong, but because there's also the was it Hayao Miyazaki, the film director? I think it's
Yes.
Hayao. So it's like I'm like these two famous Miyazakis. Obviously,
Yeah.
one's more famous than the other, but it's like in my head they occupy the same kind of level. So
Although you hear more about the Miyazaki Junior these days than Miyazaki Senior.
Miyazaki Jr.
I might just call it Miyazaki Junior from now on. And I mean, we are going into unofficial territory here. This is behind the scenes, but talking about corrections. We're about to jump into impressions for this game, but Turtles came out this week, and I mentioned, you said actually the Simpsons arcade game had never been released on any platform, and I said no, I'm pretty sure it was on Xbox, and you said that's not right.
No, I didn't say that on the show.
No, I didn't say you said it on the show.
Corrections are only for the things stated on the show. So that's non-canon. That never happened.
It's non-canon.
It wasn't unless you somehow record our Discord.
I was streaming it, so
unless you somehow record our Discord calls. Yes, that is not on the public record. Only those who heard it can state that, and I refute that. And it was not canon on the show.
Okay, fair enough. Well, do you want to jump into our impressions of the game?
Yeah. So
all right, let's jump in. So this week we checked out the new Turtles Beat 'em Up Shredder's Revenge. What did we think about it, Swinny? So what did we do? We played this game with some of our mates. Yep. You and I played it. Mike abandoned us once again. But we beat the game as well. Story mode.
So I just want to state up front that we were playing it on PC, but we actually had one of our friends playing via game streaming, or cloud gaming.
Which I only knew halfway in. And from my perspective, did not notice, or he did better than you in a lot of levels, so it's
so this was almost a good kind of live test case of how playing multiplayer against people who are actually using cloud gaming, and it was passed with flying colors.
So what is this game? This is very much in the ilk of the Turtles arcade, Turtles in Time, beat 'em up classics. And what's your high level impression of this game? That we've beaten it, we've spent a couple of hours playing it.
This game is a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but the good part is there's some tweaks they could make to really improve the game, which we'll obviously get into a bit. But overall, I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's a great love letter to those classic games. It looks gorgeous. It sounds great. And it's just a blast to play with mates.
Yeah. And I'm definitely going to talk about some of the shortfalls in the game, but overall, I love this game. I think we need more games like this. I'm always banging on about there's too many games that are just too long. And this to me is so perfect of a length. Also beat 'em ups started getting into a stupid territory where they were lasting for 5 hours. Some of the more recent beat 'em ups. And that's just, to me, ridiculous. It should always be the vision of you going back into the arcade back in the day, and you can kind of beat it with a few, $10 or whatever. And you're there for a few hours max, but you're not going to stay there any longer than that. You're not going to be spending 5 hours in the arcade doing that. That's insane. So I think the game, what was it, about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, it felt?
Yeah, it was probably just over 2 hours. There was a few moments where we paused on the map screen because we played the story mode, so might have even got through it a little bit quicker, but I think it was a great length. There were, as we'll probably get into, towards, I guess, maybe the last third of the game, some of the levels were a bit samey.
Yeah.
Which I think is, maybe also I will also admit I wasn't paying the closest attention I possibly could to the game as if I was playing it myself. Because we're just mucking around, we're chatting about other things unrelated to the game.
Yeah.
So maybe there are more differences between, let's say, this out of the hat, but let's say level 12 and 13, there were just a couple levels around that kind of later part of the game that felt very similar in visual design.
Yeah.
But yeah, how about you on that regard?
Yeah, no, I think from an art style overall, I really love it. I think it's been executed near perfectly. Going into a little gripey territory, just I don't know if it feels a bit too zoomed in or just like marginally zoomed in. Wish it was like zoomed out a little bit because it felt at times it got a bit chaotic, especially when we got through. Like we actually ended up having 4 turtles, and you know, it's not like I don't know what I'm doing, but there were every now and then I'm like, shit, where the hell am I? Like I'm like losing my character on the screen, and you know, obviously given the IP, you've got like 4 turtles, generally green, you know, divided by those 4 colors. But, you know, just looking in the peripheral, it's really hard to tell who's around you. You know what I mean? Like, where's Leo? Where's this and that? And that's always going to be a challenge if you make a game like this. But, you know, overall, man, the art style is awesome. Loved the characters and just, you know, pretty much everything about the art. Like, apart from the fact that, you know, I'm not sure what they'd have to do. It's like maybe it's one of those really difficult, intractable problems of like, how would you make the turtle stand out a little bit more? There's a few tricks that you worked out, which was, what was it, press L2 to show the little indicator on top of your thing. So
I don't know if it's an option, but it would be great to have an option to actually toggle that on permanently. I think that would be almost like Smash Brothers style.
Yeah.
As an option and not have that on by default. Just if you like, especially we didn't play 6 players, but I can see when you get into 6-player mode, it would be like, oh, having that little icon there, especially when there's supers going off every second, which we'll no doubt talk about. But I think that having that toggle would be great.
I mean, because it actually shows different things for all of our screens, they could also put like a little halo around your character or underneath it or whatever. To be fair, we didn't really explore the options, so it might actually be in the options.
There was also like there's a lot of mechanics in this game in regards to you know, much more than the classic Turtles games.
Yeah.
Like as we mentioned, supers and more combos and like just movement options. But one thing not sure how to do it, but one thing we didn't actually do was there's a mechanic to high five each other in the game.
Oh
so
yeah,
I actually not sure how that works. If it's just for fun, or if it's almost like the super, where it gives you the taunt where it gives you some super or something.
I think it's only the taunt that does that. But I did see that when I was trying to figure out because we didn't know how to revive. So like the revive stuff's not intuitive. You actually need to know what the button is, which I don't think that they should have structured it like that. But yeah, when I checked how to actually what button is revive, I did see that there's a whole host of stuff that we weren't doing. So there's a lot of depth to the game. It's actually, and it's just a really cool game. Like it's an awesome game to play in terms of, you know, going to the value of it. Cause you know, actually all of us didn't, we all play it through Game Pass, right? Effectively.
Yeah.
Like from that perspective, it's incredible like value. And you know, I'm one of the biggest people shitting on Game Pass all the time. This is a big tick for Game Pass, man. Day one, I probably would have bought this game if you guys were playing it, you know, and like I didn't have to. So that's awesome. And I definitely wanted to play this game. So that's a huge fill up for Game Pass. And I think it's a better example for me, these type of games to be on Game Pass, sometimes than even the single player games, which can be very specific to the person. You know, I think, you know, if Fall Guys, for instance, was launched for free on Game Pass, that would have been super cool, right? I think that's the kind of thing they should actually target a bit more, the social stuff.
Well, I think it was Overcooked when they added that. I think it was the first Overcooked to Game Pass. I remember playing that with a bunch of friends just because it's like, well, what game can we all access on this?
Yeah.
Because that was always the issue in the past. Like, well, let's say 360 era kind of stuff because, you know, that was like the online gaming era. But basically it's like, well, okay, what game does everyone have? Well, if everyone's got Battlefield, that's pretty much the only game.
Yeah.
So it's the only game we're going to play, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas if everyone's got Game Pass, it's just you get a lot more options.
Yeah. And, you know, like, I think the music in this game was pretty awesome, but I didn't actually like the mix. To me, it really felt like they dialed down the music too much in this game over the sound effects.
Yeah, I think the unfortunate part is whenever you're doing, like, voice chat with mates
Discord.
over, like, Discord stuff, like, I just had to scale the entire game music down. But what I heard, I liked, especially the vocal tracks, and obviously Mike Patton sings the theme song, which is awesome. I'm a huge fan of him. So
so am I.
So let's talk about the supers. So if anyone doesn't know, basically, this game has a super mechanic where you hit enemies and you level up to get a super, and as you get stronger and you're more experienced in turtle, you can unlock multiple bars of it. Not the unfortunate part, well, I guess it is that there's a taunt mechanic where you taunt and you get the super instantly. So what it devolves to is basically everyone just taunting all the time to get the super, releasing the super. And unless you control yourself, you can just literally taunt again and then use your super again. And it just kind of just ends up being super smorgasbord.
Nice pun. Yeah, and it's ridiculous like how little the penalty is. The penalty
Yeah.
is if you use a super, no health, no nothing. It's just you use the super, and the taunt from memory, it's like 2 to 3 seconds. I think you have to wait. It's not long at all.
I saw someone on a forum have the audacity to say that they should make it easier. Like
What,
the
this
taunt,
game?
the taunt mechanic. They're like,
What?
oh, make it so you can cancel out of it or it's quicker. And I'm thinking,
Cancel
man,
out of it.
this thing is already goddamn broken. Now, I don't know, maybe they were playing single player and it's a lot harder to kind of do that stuff when there's less people, and that would make sense. But I was like, man, like it's already broken. They need to tone the hell down out of that thing, because outside of one or two bosses, the game on the normal difficulty was just ridiculously easy. It was.
Yeah, like we got through. We died, but we had enough lives. Like we don't actually know what the live mechanic really is. Like, could you run out of lives and then you're out of the game? I don't know.
Not sure. Like,
We didn't die enough.
I made an assumption that maybe that was a key difference, other than the absence of the world map. Key difference between the arcade and story mode is that arcade is, while you run out of lives, it's game over. Unless they have a continue mechanic. That was my assumption, but I don't know. So
Yeah, and it's not a review. Like, we're doing our impressions of like beating the game. But look, like, honestly, that taunt mechanic and the super, it's so broken. Like, they gotta change something. So they either gotta make the super you lose health, so then you are kind of a bit like, well, I can't just spam this throughout the whole level, and you have to be more judicial with the way you use it. Or I don't know, the idea of maybe just remove it. Honestly, I don't think you need to have the taunt recharge your super. Like, just remove it.
That would be my preferred way to do that, is just get rid of the taunt option, because you're still going to build that up from hitting the enemies, and it incentivizes people to take action to go towards the enemies rather than I'm going to run away in a corner and just taunt.
Yeah, which is kind of a bit devolved to. Like, I stopped doing the taunt super thing during the levels because I was kind of actually subtly getting annoyed that we can't like go to the next bit of the level because everyone's taunting. Like, and I'm waiting for everyone to fucking stop taunting
and
to move on.
Like, I was
That's
playing Raphael, and his taunt was just laughing, which was okay, but then there was other taunts that were just really annoying.
Mine's the worst. I played as Donnie, and he was like, "What was it? Just a minute, just a minute." Yeah. That's really annoying. But
look,
great game. It was an awesome game.
Yeah,
they'll patch that. They'll patch the taunt. Hopefully, God, hopefully.
Yeah, and I just want to give a huge shout out to Developers Tribute Games. The fact that I think this is just an absolute like showcase for them, and I think it really put them on the map. So
yeah, and I mean the publisher Dotemu, they've got a fair few things coming out like that are pretty decent. Like, actually, it's like a publisher I keep my eyes on now. Like Metal Slug Tactics. I mean, yes, like there's a whole Saudi Arabia thing behind that, but you know, like Streets of Rage 4, like they've done a lot of cool stuff in the last couple of years. So they're also a mob to keep your eyes out. Windjammers 2 as well.
Yep.
So there's a lot of cool stuff that they're putting together. I actually like that publisher. So yeah, what would you give this out of 10 if you were back in IGN when you were working there?
The thing is, me rating out of 10 is people are not going to think it's right, but I think this is a really great 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
If I was like magazine rating where anything below a 90 is considered shit, then okay, a 9 out of 10. You know,
but that's the trouble with it. Like, you know, I get shit for saying that Dumb and Dumber is like a 10 out of 10 movie. They're like, what the fuck? How could that be a 10 out of 10 movie, right? And it's like, it's not trying to be Schindler's List or Godfather, but for me, just the humor in it, fucking, like, every joke makes me laugh in that movie. Every joke. Like, even today, I can still watch it and I find everything funny, right? And it's like this kind of game. It's not trying to be The Last of Us, for God's sakes, right?
Thank God.
Part 1. But, you know, like, for what it's trying to do, being a beat 'em up, it literally reminds me of being a kid playing Simpsons Arcade, right? Which was available for a short period of time on Xbox. And the last controversial thing, and I think Joe Jives was one of the people who were playing with, right? He's our special Patreon subscriber that he gets to play with us. But This is the man that said he beat Battletoads in a weekend. Swinny, do you find that more or less believable after playing with him in this game?
Why are you going back to this
Be
now?
honest.
I don't understand. You're extending this
I'm asking
segment
the question.
just to riff on him. I
Do
still
you find it more or less believable after playing a beat 'em up game?
No, I played the fourth. The fourth? No, the fifth.
It's
The
the
fifth.
fifth.
I played the fifth.
So-
No, the fourth is that hidden one about turtles and Battletoads. So I played
No,
the fourth.
the Fifth Amendment's a racist thing, but but you know what pleading the fifth means. You feel like your answer's going to incriminate you. So I will take that as you, just like me. I find it less plausible. I want to see Joe Jives stream him beating Battletoads over a weekend, and then I'll believe it. All right, let's go back into what else have we been playing. And it's quite funny that you wrote what else have we been playing, because I was going to change it to write what else have we been playing. So when I jumped in, I'm like, whoa, that's scary. We're quite similar. So first up, myself, I played Live Alive. Is it Live Alive? Live Alive?
Just whatever,
forget.
man.
I
At
always
this
forget.
point, I'm just over it. I'm over it. It doesn't really matter. It probably doesn't. It's probably both ways makes sense in the themes of the game.
Yeah, Live Alive. Yeah, I think that's the way it's meant to be said. So I played the demo. As I said a few times on the show, I was contemplating buying it. I was still kind of going back to thinking, shit, should I buy this? Because I did promise I'll buy these 2D HD games. I booted it up, played the demo. Man, I have to say, demos are very consumer friendly. I played a little bit of it, and I'm like, there's no way I'll play this game. Like, I'm not saying it's shit or whatever, but for me, this is just not the game for me. So I'm really glad that I actually I got to play it. It does have a really different battle system. So I don't know, you might want to check it out, Swinny.
Look, I'm fairly familiar with the original.
Okay.
I've played parts of it. Yeah, so I know I've
It's a bit different, right? The battle system. It's more like a grid-based one, and your attacks can like impact characters. It's almost like tactics, but not tactics. It's pretty weird.
Look, I mean, it's in these day and age, there's lots of RPGs that have that style of battle system,
okay.
but back then it would have been a lot more unique. So I'm not taking anything away from it, but it's I'm still keen to try it out, but just like with Octopath, my hope is that eventually they put it on other platforms as well. Hopefully, we'll see. So.
Yeah,
Octopath was a good seller, so this will probably need to sell well for them to consider putting it out on like Xbox and things.
Don't think this is going to go that well. That's my gut feel.
We'll see.
It's very cult classic, and I don't see much buzz about this game at all. So, I've also been playing Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, or as when I went to buy it, I said Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Houses. Look, I'm actually getting into this game now, and I love that I've picked a different path as well.
Sorry, it sounded like you were already into it, so it's like you just even further into it this week. Right?
Nah, when I first was playing it, it's more like there's a rhythm. Like you have to kind of get the rhythm going in these kind of games. And now I'm like, I've got the rhythm, and I'm like, okay. Now I'm gonna start powering through these levels and listen to a podcast, like not paying attention. Pause the podcast when there's a bit of story. Okay, cool. All right, jump back into the fighting. I don't know. It's just very relaxing because it's not that hard. But you also have to stay on top of what you're doing. Otherwise, you could lose some of the levels just because like you have to go do this and send your troops there and send your troops there, and I don't know. I really like these games when they've got IPs that I like. So when they do release the Animal Crossing Warriors game, I'm sure I'll get into that as well.
Yes, that sounds that would just be Tom. No, the villager themselves would just be the psychopath in that game, murdering everyone, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Tom Nook just going around bashing people's heads in. It's a bit of a left field one for me, but I played a bit of Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. I don't know what was the reason why I jumped into this. Like, literally don't know.
Maybe you had Street Fighter 6 on the mind, and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to play a fighting game. So
Yeah, I said to you guys as well, I was like looking at getting a fight stick as well. I was like, I just want to get I don't know. There's something that's compelling me to like play these things. You know, we haven't spoken about it much on the show, maybe once or twice, but I used Fightcade, so you can actually play with local people.
Dirty pirate.
No, I own the arcade machine down in my garage.
Oh, yeah.
Just gotta get a converter from 110 volts to Australian standard. So, but man, this fucking game, like the way it looks and moves and animated, like I gotta really sit down and think about it. Maybe we could do a tier list for this. Actually, this is not a bad idea, but I feel like this is like an S tier 2D art style. Like it is fucking incredible how good this game looks.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like, you know, we're not going to go on a tangent here too much, but there's a whole backstory with this game where it wasn't meant to be Street Fighter 3. And even actually a lot of people who are in FGC fighting game community, like, and big, you know, people who are like famous, like Justin Wong and stuff like that, he doesn't consider it to be a Street Fighter game with the mechanics of this game. And I can kind of get that, even playing it a little bit. I'm like, it does feel different to all the other Street Fighters that I've played. And it wasn't meant to be Street Fighter in the initial run, and then they converted it. And it was one of the most expensive projects that Capcom had put together at that stage. And the art, they just went over the top because it was almost like 3D was coming in at this point as well. So they were like, okay, we're going to go crazy with the art style. And it wasn't received well. Like, and probably also Street Fighter 3, because that was the first version of this game. You know, arguably, I think people don't really love that game anyway. Third Strike is a lot different to Street Fighter 3. So, because do you remember when it got released in the arcades? I know that we weren't the biggest arcade people, but...
Well, yeah, it was almost like, they put out a Street Fighter 3. Because remember back at that time, you know, like... we were still reading magazines, so a lot of the news would come to us, you know, a month plus afterwards. Now, obviously, we would then start jumping on the internet, like, and start reading this news as it went. But even then, I remember, like, Hyper magazine, they had their website, and I don't think they even put stuff up before it reached the magazine. So people had a reason to go buy the magazine, because obviously they could get the stuff up on the website much quicker. But they're like, well, we're going to hold off some of these exclusive features and reviews.
Yeah,
so,
and also Australia was crazy because if you're in the magazine industry in Australia, you could almost get a console from overseas, play a bunch of the games, and they came out like 2 years later sometimes in Australia.
Yeah.
You know, so you could really craft everything. But Street Fighter 3, like the original Street Fighter 3 new generation, that was like 97, 98. Like, to me, it feels like still in my brain, my lizard brain, like not that long ago. And it's like, shit, that's like 25 years ago it came out. But I remember when it came out to the arcades, it was just really like, people were just like, really? Like, this is not what we want, right? Things were moving really quick back then, Tekken and all this other stuff. So,
well, it was also, you know, like they got rid of majority of the cast of the previous game. So it was like the people didn't have that familiar link to it. And as you said, like gameplay wise, it was very different. That it's something that people probably had to adjust to, and when you're playing on an arcade machine, there's not that much time for adjustment if you're putting money in, like in dollars and $2 or whatever to play each time, you know. So but
very controversial game when it released. It's definitely the most controversial Street Fighter. I know that Street Fighter 5 didn't launch well, but it was hotly anticipated. Street Fighter 3 was a bit weird. So, but anyway, I'm like debating about playing it a lot more because I do like the mechanics of the games really, really quick. And then the last thing I've been playing is Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. And man, like, I gotta like think about it, but I might have to like change my game of the year last year.
I'm like, did you want to have this nominated? You're like, no, I don't care that much. So we took it out and we put in Ender Lilies, which ended up winning. So Ender Lilies replaced Monster Hunter Rise, and you're going to say that you can actually swap it. That's pretty funny.
Well, like, I've come around to this game massively. Like, I was just like I didn't really understand the game, right? Like, I wanted to lock on to the monster like Dark Souls, right? And fight it like Dark Souls. That was kind of the way I wanted to fight it, right? And I just didn't understand how I was meant to play it, right? So one breakthrough was like, okay, I'm going to reset all the changes I made and try to play it like by default, everything default, right? To try to understand like what are you meant to do in this game? How are you meant to play it, right? And then I started watching some tutorials. So, what's his name? Fighting Cowboy. Is that right? Fighting Cowboy?
You're the guy.
The
You're the one
YouTuber.
that talks about him. Yeah, but you're the one that talks about
Oh,
him.
really? You don't
him
know
very
him?
well.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I've seen his name every now and
Okay,
then.
I
You're
like
the
that guy. Okay.
You bring him up.
And Arix, do you know Arix? That channel? That's another big channel. So I watched a bunch of their tutorials about how to play the game. And I'm like, oh, okay, crazy. And then the other breakthrough for me was like using the insect glaive, which is like very weird and almost technical. But now I'm like flying all over all over the place like a maniac. Like, and I love it. It's like when they have like a Rathalos or whatever it's called, it's flying in the air. I'm just like, all right, I'm going to get up there and smash it in the head. Man, I really like, I can totally see now how people spend like 1,000 hours playing this game. Like you get stuck in these loops. The other breakthrough was because I don't have any friends to play it with because no one owns it. None of my friends own it.
No one.
Yeah,
no
yeah,
one.
yeah. The other breakthrough was like, I just said, fuck it. All right, I'm going to play the multiplayer with randos. And they're always Japanese players. It's always Japanese. It's like everyone who joins my games are always Japanese. And man, it's so fun. I think if I actually had a group of friends who were playing it, I could see it's like a Rocket League type thing. You just play it like every night. Oh, yeah, do this hunt, do that hunt. Oh, I need this gear. And it's a very vicious cycle. It's like the shit that Michael hates, where it's like, oh, okay, I want to like get better gear because I'm at this level now.
Yeah.
And then you go to get the gear and then you get up another level and you're like, oh shit, I need to get different gear that's better now. And you just get in a loop.
I've never played multiplayer in these games. What happens when the monster's dead? Does everyone get the opportunity to carve up the pieces? So it's not like people can steal the loot. It's all everyone gets it.
No, everyone gets it, but it does. It's cool. It's actually like super interesting, like how they've done all of this stuff because, I kind of, I don't know if you know, but I'm a little bit competitive, right? So I'm like, who's done the most damage to the monster?
That's news to me.
It's like it hasn't told me information about who's the best in this hunt, right? It doesn't do that kind of stuff, right? But the other funny mechanic of it is, I was hunting a Rathalos in Master Rank, and I made it like, hey, I'll allow other people to join my hunt, right? And these fuckers kept dying all the time. I literally failed the quest 3 times because these idiots kept on fainting, right? Like I was for ages. But I'm like, surely in Master Rank, they should be like not fainting all the time. And I got to a point where I'm like, am I going to have to just hunt this thing by myself, which is going to be pretty hard because, it's the same HB, but eventually
You are that toxic teammate, like with
Toxic?
the rocket,
I'm not toxic.
the Rocket League. Oh, these guys can't lace my boots.
No, but I'm not ripping into them like in the chat or anything like that. I don't do that. I keep my thoughts to myself.
You're quietly toxic.
Yeah, well, no, quietly go and get better. Why are you joining these hunts and dying straight away?
Because people want to play the game and have fun, even if they suck.
No, but you shouldn't suck at Master Rank. Like it's not like you would have had to play the game for 50 hours by that stage. But that's the dynamic though, because
You got to think they're probably getting carried by like that new gear that gets them up higher.
yeah, maybe
faster,
that's
so-
true. That's true. Yeah, because they had new gear, but then they've got even newer gear that's way OP.
Because when I first played World,
Yeah.
it was actually after they'd added that in because Iceborne was on the way. So I played it on easy mode up until when obviously it starts to rebalance towards the end game and stuff, which I was fine with. I'm like, it's my first time playing one of these games. I'm okay to take the easy hand out. It does mean you don't learn. You basically get into bad habits because you can just do so much damage and take so many hits that when it comes time to those monsters that can take you down quickly, even if you got that stuff, you're like, oh shit, I actually need to learn the attacks and the tells of these monsters, not just like DPS them,
No, and that's what I love about the game. Like, I'm going to stage, especially with the insect glaive, because it has like aerial moves. So I'm like kind of up in the air. Then I'm like, okay, I think it's going to do this. So I'm already like attacking in one direction. And it's got this new move, I believe, or maybe it was in World, where you can like slam down on the monster. So I can give it like, I think the most I've seen is like 700 damage, like smashing it in the head, like one hit. Like all this kind of stuff. I was like, man, this game is like, I'm so into it, dude. It's getting crazy. I'm like, watching random YouTube videos about Monster Hunter now. Like the tier list of monsters and the tier list of the games. And I was looking a bit at Monster Hunter 1 on the PS2. And it's like very Pokemon-like in the sense that there's so much shit in Monster Hunter 1 that is still exactly in Monster Hunter Rise. Like the icons.
Yeah, I was literally about to say the icons of like the health potions, what do they call them? I can't remember. You know, it's like it's so and it's so great. It's almost like Zelda-like to me, where they keep elements that you like hook you all the way back or take you all the way back to the original games. You know, so
it's super cool. Like I'm still, I'll get through Sunbreak. I might put it down to just pick up Warriors again because I feel like I don't know when I'm going to stop playing this game, honestly, because it's so many things. Like, and there's so many things. I started to go back to like the easier quests that I skipped, like a few of the quests, and I'm like, how much can I fuck up these monsters now that I'm so overpowered for like the rank that they were? I'm like killing them within like a minute or like even less. But yeah, I think I might put it down now that I've played a bunch of Sunbreak because I actually had the day off on Friday, so I ended up playing like the whole day. Right? Until my kids came over, and then I obviously put it down. But man, it's super addictive. Like I totally get Monster Hunter now, and it's kind of sad. I feel like I don't need another thing like this, but then again, it's a pretty cool game. It's a pretty cool game. But yeah, I do wonder when Monster Hunter, you know, the next console game, Monster Hunter 6, whether I'll pick that up or not. I'm like, oh, probably will.
You know,
Let's be real.
I'll play that one with you.
Fuck you. Fuck you, cunt. All right, what have you been playing?
All right, so I've been playing a lot of stuff this week, but like earlier in the week. So I tried out a bit of Resogun on PlayStation. Man, that's a
good
that
game,
is
man.
a damn good game.
Yeah.
Like Housemark. It's just like the mechanics. You're like, this is almost genius level stuff. The way they do it, it's crazy.
Is that a part of the what's it called? The
PlayStation
Deluxe?
Plus, yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that'd be the PS4 one. Yeah. So, also picked up the Dolmen. So Dolmen is that relatively new Souls-like that I quickly mentioned when we were talking about Hellpoint a few weeks ago, by a Brazilian team. I can't remember the exact name of the developers off the top of my head. You'll be proud of me this week. I have 0 notes, so I'm completely going to screw myself up on everything I say.
Fly blind.
Normally I'd write some basic stuff, but now I'm like, nah, not this week. I'm just going blind.
There you go.
But yeah, Dolmen seems pretty good so far. I'm about 2 bosses down. So depending on how much I play this week, I may review it next week, or I may just give an impressions thing. So far, it's not something I'd recommend, but I'm having fun, if that makes sense. It's like I need to see, does it actually, like, is it something I'd recommend to people like Souls games? Because I think it's there's some weird things about it. But anyway.
And a quick status check. I did give you a heavy recommendation to play Spider-Man Remastered as part of the collection you have for only a month. Very short game.
I'm probably going to be playing other games, so because I have Spider-Man, I own Spider-Man.
Ah, shit. Okay, there you. Damn it. All right.
So another game I played this week is, you know, I've been playing a lot of Borderlands games recently. I did actually consider getting Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, but they just released more DLC for it. I'm like, you know what? The longer I wait, the cheaper that game will get, the more like they'll increase the level cap. It's like, again, I always wait for Borderlands games, but I wanted to finish off the standalone DLC Salt and Dragon's Keep.
Yep.
And I got up to the last achievement. The last achievement required you to kill a Chubby Bones. So I basically what people dub the chubby grind, because this is an enemy that randomly appears, and I guess you can play the footage now, has a 0.5% chance to spawn.
0.5?
0.5% chance. And I was reading up all the strategies or the places where people try to farm, and this enemy can spawn on wherever any skeleton can spawn. And there's quite a few places, but each time a skeleton spawns, it's like 0.5% chance.
1 in 200.
But there are places where there's like 5 skeletons will spawn at the same time. So I'm like, you know what? I like those odds, right? You know, and I'm going to do this regardless. But then I started reading some horror stories where some person's like, oh, it took me 5 hours to get this guy, of just constantly doing this loop. Another one's like, it took me 10 hours. And someone said it took them over 50 hours to get this chubby bones to bloody spawn.
There was something wrong.
No, there's a lot of people saying that they actually took them like a long time, like over a day or 24 hours or whatever. So I set myself down. I'm like, all right, I'm expecting the worst. Half an hour it took me to get the chubby to spawn. Now, I will say, like, I played through the entire game like 30 hours and he didn't spawn throughout those 30 hours. But the point was, I've done everything else and now I'm like dedicating myself to getting this bastard to spawn. But it was, I was so happy. The RNGesus.
The RNGesus.
It was, his light came down upon me during my farming and I finished the game.
You do pray to RNGesus a lot, so you can understand you have a deep relationship. Is that what the chubby bones will look like in the B-roll?
Yeah, so there was
and shit?
Yeah, there was a chubby bones. And it's because look, it's what can I say? I love Borderlands, but that is I hate whenever I have to rely on RNG for that kind of stuff. But anyway, it's over. It's done. I finished the game. So
very good, very good. I do like the art style of this game. I've never played it.
Yeah. Now, a couple of Game Pass games. No B-roll for these because I'm kind of going to, I don't have a lot to say about them. I played a bit of NBA 2K22.
Wow.
Noted sports game fan and noted loot box fan.
Can I ask, be honest, how many NBA players did you know before playing this game?
I don't know any after playing the game.
Bullshit.
Because I just chose.
You can't name one NBA player, current NBA player.
Oh, like Steph Curry or something.
Yeah,
like
Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Who else?
I don't know.
Really?
I'm not gonna embarrass myself by like taking random stabs. All right. What I'm gonna say about this is, I mean, it's obviously seems like a really great game for basketball fans. I'm just not into sports games, realistic sports games in general. I love the SNES sports games and things where they're more arcadey and stuff.
Yeah. They're so simmy now. Yeah.
I just honestly played one like just exhibition match just to get a handle on like what is the mechanics like and everything else. It was all right, but that was enough for me. So, and I know how horrible those games are monetized, so I really didn't want to play anymore. And for anyone who doesn't know, I'm trying to play every Game Pass game that's added into Game Pass this year. So that's the reason why I actually played it. So,
well, I guess by doing that, eventually you can get to a point where you can say officially, I've played every game that's currently available on Game Pass.
There's some games that stay in there for ages, like the Microsoft ones and things. So, but anyway.
But you can start working on those ones as well.
And the other game, and I was actually looking forward to trying this. Turns out it's trash,
shit.
but anyway, is Naraka Blade Point. So Naraka Blade Point was a game that they announced. It was a game that already exists on PC. It was quite popular, especially in Asian markets, and they announced at the Xbox Showcase during summer that it was coming to Game Pass. And I played the tutorial, and I'm like, this feels cool. It's not a Souls-like combat system, but it's got vibes to it that it was enough for me to go like, this seems pretty cool, but it's more like just more fit, like crazy action and stuff. And then so you go through a tutorial, which is just it's pretty good, takes you through everything, and then it's like bang straight into the main menu of just like season passes and bullshit everywhere and all, basically like an MMO like screen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck that, I'm out. I was just like, I'm not fucking dealing with this shit, man. It was so
for those reasons, I'm out.
It was so abrasive that I'm like, I don't even want to try a proper game of this.
Really?
Because I've just like, it's like a lot of mobile games, like you go and you load the screen up and it's just got like all these different like types of crystals and points. It just kind of gave me that vibe, and I'm like, I don't want to like. Here's today's challenges. Here's the characters. Here's the stuff that's available in the shop. Limited time offer, and I'm like, fuck this, man. Like,
yeah, but the smart games they do you slowly. They just like
they do you slowly.
That's a Paul Keating line. Okay, I gotta get into that. Paul Keating in Parliament, he was running against John Hewson. This is back in like 92 or something. And John Hewson in Parliament's just like, why don't you call the election? Why don't you call the election? Why don't you do it? And Paul Keating gets up, he's like, because mate, he says some more preamble, but he's like, because mate, I want to do you slowly. And then the whole Parliament erupted in laughter. It's just so I fucking love that guy. He's my hero.
I do not remember that.
Oh, dude, I could quote that guy for days. Like, there's so much shit that he said. That's fucking some of the best insults. So, anyway, that's a weird connection. Paul Keating and
Naraka Blade Point.
No one's made that connection before.
Naraka Keating, yeah. So the last game I played is this is the main event. It's not a Game Pass game though.
By the way, like adult PlayStation games, have you played Last of Us?
So you're talking since I got my 1 month PS Plus subscription.
Yeah, but you have access to it.
I do. Well, I own Last
Have you
of Us.
played?
So that's a bit
Have
of
you
a
played
different...
Last of Us?
No.
God of War?
I'm playing through God of War 3 right now, so not until I
I'm
finish
talking
that.
about 2018. No,
I own that, so like
no,
I'm
saying,
not going to
have
play
you
games
played
I
it?
own.
Have you played it? I'm just
Not
getting
yet.
the audience on the journey here. Just
Not yet. But there's a
Spider-Man.
big difference. There's a big difference between the general have you played these games and have you played it because you've got 1 month of this
I'm just saying,
subscription
like,
service to use.
you know, hey, I picked up a Switch. You know, I'm thinking of the games that I could play. I've never played any of these games before, and I picked up this game. It looked really cool. Balan Wonderworld or Land. I always forget which one it is. So what have you been playing, Swinny?
So the first game I downloaded and that I've been playing is a game has a fantastic reputation. It's one of the all-time classics. It's called Knack on PlayStation 4. So the reason why, okay, let me explain why I wanted to play Knack, because as we know, this game is a meme. It's not regarded as a great game in any way, although, you know, some people don't mind it. I always see this game as like an oddity in the PlayStation history. Even though it's not that old, it's like this game that was almost like a tech demo in terms of like what the PS4 can do. You know, Mark Cerny was behind it. And I'm like, okay, I want to play this game that a lot of people joke about. Some people don't mind. A lot of people don't like. And I actually, before the whole PS Plus thing, I'd been looking around for this game, assuming I could find it super cheap. And I wasn't able to find it cheap. Like the cheapest I found Knack for was like $30. And I'm like, I'm not searching all on the internet. I'm just like, whatever, like bargain bins and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not paying $30 for Knack, right?
No.
Especially if I end up hating the game.
You'd rather pay $25 for a month to play Knack.
No, well, the point is that I played a lot of games as part of that 1 month, and I could talk about it on the show. But I'm like, okay, this is a perfect chance for me to play this game. So I started it, and, you know, I went into it with very low expectations, went through the tutorial. I'm like, this game's not that bad. It's like, it feels okay. It's like, you know, like a character platformer, you know, 3D platformer, blah, blah, blah. Then the story stuff starts, and I'm like, okay, this is really bad. Like, very bad story. Very, like, Knack has the voice of like a 40-year-old black dude. It's just like really weird.
Can you do an impression? Can you do an impression quickly?
I am not doing an impression.
But I'm just trying to I'm just trying to get the audio in my head. Like, what is?
No.
Can you try?
No, I'm not. But basically, it's like I'm trying to think. Like Carl Weathers. He sounds like almost like a younger Carl Weathers, you know. Anyway.
What does he sound like? I can't recall what Carl
No, I
Weathers
am not. No. But the point is, it's really odd. Everything about the whole story part is odd, but whatever, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I can live with that and whatever. I'm playing the game and I'm like, okay, it's not that bad. I'm playing on normal. I'm like, okay, I'll just choose normal. It's easy, normal, hard.
Yeah.
This motherfucking game is hard as shit on normal.
Yeah, really?
No joke. I was so like, for what you would expect.
Yeah.
Basically, when you're like little Knack, you can see in the footage at the moment, you see like he's took like a third of his health there or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I'm taking half my health each hit. This person must be playing on damn easy because I'm taking half health. So basically, Knack dies in 2 hits.
Oh, wow.
And the checkpoints are not friendly. Like basically, the checkpoints are like between the cutscenes, and so you have to like. So I'm dying to these, and the enemy placements are arseholes, and there's enemies as I've gotten further into that will kill me in 1 hit, and I have to play through this whole massive section again. I'm like, why is this game so hard, man?
What do you generally find harder, Elden Ring or Knack on hard?
This game is more difficult than bloody Elden Ring for me, right? Now, you can't change unless there's a way to do it that I haven't found. You can't change the difficulty once you started the game.
I hate that. I actually tried to make Fire Emblem Warriors harder, and then you can't. You're not allowed to. I'm like, that's stupid.
Because I'm like, I ended up rage quitting this game at like, I don't know, a third of the way through because I got that pissed off. And I'm like, I don't know if I can be bothered finishing this game. If I could knock it down easy, I would. But man, like, this game. No, look. The other thing, this game has probably the ugliest art style of any fucking PlayStation first-party game I've ever
raving
played.
review.
But the game itself is not bad. I think it's just the fact, like, the art style thing is a huge thing that puts people off. It's
Well, the
just
art style is
it's
pretty critical to the game, right?
It's
Like,
ugly. Like, the
it does look
characters are
horrible.
ugly. Everything's ugly around it. You know, like. Anyway, so I may keep playing it. I might actually start from the start on easy, because I'd like to complete the
God.
game,
Yep.
because it would also be part of my. The thing is with this PlayStation Pile of Shame resolution.
Well, this game is just a shameful game. Not being
No, but the thing is, I think it's better than some people think, but it's still like, you know, I've just spoken about my issues.
There you go. It's way too fucking hard for what it is. It looks like shit. The story is horrible.
But it, like, it
10 out of
plays,
10.
but like the core moment of gameplay is not horrible, right? But the thing is that as part of that PlayStation Pile of Shame, like, I'm trying to experience a wide range of not just the all the AAA big hitters. That's why I'm like, okay, I'm going to play Flare, I'm going to play Knack, I'm going to play the Order 1866. You know, I want to kind of experience
Us.
like the highs and lows. You know,
Yeah.
maybe The Last of Us.
I haven't played it either, so you know
Yeah,
we should
anyway.
we should have a gaming show. But
So I'll we'll see whether or not I'll go back to Knack. But yeah, anyway.
this is like a very unfair comment, but Knack for me, because you know how you're saying it's like a misstep by Sony, and it was, but Knack feels like it should have been an Xbox game. It's the kind of thing that Xbox, you could totally see Xbox doing.
It definitely feels like original Xbox kind of like vibe. I will say I've heard the sequel is much better, and in terms of difficulty, much better as well. So I don't know if it's good, but I've heard that because I'm looking. That's the things, you know, when you're playing something like, man, like you with Fire Emblem, like fucking, is anybody else finding this shit hard? And you start looking it up, and all these articles and these Reddit threads of, why is Knack so hard? Like, oh, I felt vindicated. I'm like, man, I don't just suck. It's fucking hard, man.
Because I imagine some people just like play it for a few minutes or seconds or whatever, and then it's like they're done with it, so they don't even know how hard or easy it is. I feel like that's even a bit like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge, where it's like I don't actually see many people talking about how broken the game is. But to me, that's a pretty big flaw in the game that they can fix, and I think once they fix it, then it's definitely like better. But yeah, okay, interesting. So you got to restart from easy Knack instead of playing any of these other games that you have in the collection that are amazing.
Well, because I've, again, like, I own those other games.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't own a copy of Knack, so I'll lose access. I won't be able to play it after this one.
yeah,
So.
but that's a pretty poor argument because I'm sure there's 100 games that are better than Knack that you don't own.
Hey, it's
You can't even argue with that.
Nah.
All right.
Trail off.
All right, let's get into our headliner. So, after weeks of rumors, we finally have got a Nintendo Direct this week of the mini partner showcase variety. So, what went down overall, Swinny, before we jump into our key highlights? People didn't like this, some people did. How did you feel about this?
I think this is a very strong showing that unfortunately was relying too much on games that were already a known thing. We just didn't know they were known Switch thing.
Yeah.
And obviously it was a partner showcase, so anybody wanting a first party thing was always going to be disappointed because that wasn't the point. But I liked it. I think there were some great announcements.
Yeah, I really liked it. Very low expectations. It's not a straight up Nintendo Direct, so you can't have that type of hype for it. And then you look back at some of the partner showcases. Some of them, I remember we live reacted to other ones that were a bit like, oh, okay, pretty hit and miss. We did a live reaction to this one if you want to watch it, but I think we both said at the end, and I still feel the same. Pretty good overall. I think the biggest thing was like, there was nothing new that excited me, right? Like, there's games that have existed, but yeah. And I kind of almost put the Steam games out of that category, which is probably the wrong thing to do. Like, sometimes the Steam game will come to Switch, and I'll be like, oh, wow, this is awesome. And I kind of almost feel like it's a brand new game because it hasn't got a big audience yet. But overall, pretty good.
I think the trouble for me as well is that I always get excited about stuff, especially Nintendo related stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't use my Switch anymore, really. I'll use it. I probably haven't used it in about 3 months.
Whoa. Holy
yeah,
shit, dude.
Maybe even longer.
I got to get on Smash with you.
So the thing is, even if I get excited, it's going to take a lot to get me to actually go play the Switch, just because I've got so many other games, and I just would rather play,
Yeah.
my fancy newer consoles on my new
Sure.
TV. So it's just the nature of it. But I think, I guess let's get into some of the cool stuff that they showed
Yeah.
off.
I reckon a Mario game would be the thing that gets you back. Like a new Mario game, Mario Galaxy 3, whatever it is. So our highlights that we had of the show, and it opened with this as well, which was a bit of a shock. NieR Automata, The End of Yora, is that right? Edition?
Yorha, and it was
Yorha.
after the sun. It opened with a Sunbreak trailer, and then went into this one.
Yeah, I mean,
Yorha.
That was
Yorha.
always going to happen. They've got a good relationship with Capcom. I'm sure that's part of the deal. So the Sunbreak thing revealed a few more of the monsters, but nothing exciting, I don't think. But yeah, this actually, I avoid the rumors. I don't really actually get that much news, like rumor news. Like it just doesn't hit my feed normally anyway. But yeah, NieR Automata really shocked me. A game that I just haven't given the time to play. I've only played for like 2 or 3 hours. And it was literally like played it, like this is the original PS4 version. Played it for 2 or 3 hours and I'm like, this game is like so cool, right? Literally, I was like saying to you guys, I'm like, I freaking already love this game. And I just didn't go back to it for some reason. I think it was almost like this game is going to drag me into its universe and lore and weirdness that I kind of just put it down because I was nervous about it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, even if you want to do everything in the game, it's not a super long game compared to like other like your more traditional JRPGs and stuff. So,
But
in
is it
terms of
is it a JRPG?
no, but I'm saying like of that vibe because
Yeah,
it's definitely
okay,
like got some vibes to that. I'm saying like don't expect this to be like a massively long game like those. Although there's meat to it. One thing I'll say though is that the lore part where you're like, okay, now I'm super interested in the lore part, that would probably suck you in because there's so much to that. And when you add in all the near replicant stuff that kind of links into it, tenuously, but there are links.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm absolutely over the moon for anyone that's playing this on, that wants to play this on Switch. Obviously, it's not going to have the horsepower of
Fidelity
the
and
others.
everything, yeah.
But this game, I think, is fine because the gameplay is great, but the story, I think, is really what hooks people. And I just hope that, I don't know, obviously, like it would be better on the new Switch OLED, but there is some small font in that game, so I hope they upscale a little bit for people that want to play on Switch handheld. So I just hope they do a bit of work there. But anyway.
Yeah, and like I don't want to go on about it too long, but just the dialogue around frames per second and everything like that. It's starting to it's so weird. I feel like there's been a massive pendulum shift in this space. I remember like I don't know what it was, like 3, 4, 5 years ago, we'd always be like, hey, we want 60 frames per second. Like this bullshit stuff of like dodgy frame rate games, it's unacceptable, right? And I've always been in that position. But now I feel like it's gone the other way where it's like people are like, oh, this game's 30 frames per second. Oh, it's unplayable. It's horrible. I'm like, well, hang on. It's kind of nuanced. It's like a game that has like a very locked 30 frames per second for me can be very playable. Like Monster Hunter Rise, I have it on PC thanks to Capcom. And then also on the Switch where I bought it. And I prefer playing the Switch version. Like the PC version looks fucking way better. And it's like, whatever it is, 60 frames plus, right? But it's just the convenience. I can put it on my TV, play it, as I'm going around. And I kind of look at this game as well. If this game is like anything like, what's that other game from the same studio? Astral Chain.
Yeah.
Which, that's a 30 frames per second game. I played a bunch of that game. I loved it. I didn't have an issue with it. I'd love if it was 60, but it's not like unplayable. Like, where I'm always coming from is where games are choppy. You know what I mean? And it's so noticeable. Like you're playing through it and it's like, oh, this is just horrible, right? So anyway, bit of a diversion. But talking about JRPGs, and feels like this one was coming for, what is it? 3 or 4 years since the Joker announcement with Smash. They finally revealed Persona 3, 4, and 5, starting with 5, coming to the Switch. So crazy stuff. Feels like a match made in heaven.
Definitely. This is long overdue, especially for the Switch. The fact that the whole Joker thing, but also the fact that Shin Megami Tensei 5 came out on the Switch, it just felt like a match made in heaven. I'm so happy that, the Switch owners weren't left out when we had the announcements at the Xbox showcase, and then they said it's also coming. They're also all going to be on PS5 and on Steam and everything, if they weren't already. And I'm just glad that they, it was obvious that they just waited. They just wanted to have that as a nice piece on this, direct. Which it's possible that this direct was meant to happen a bit earlier, and that gap wouldn't have made as much sense, as in like it wouldn't have been as big. But whatever, it's coming. I think there'd be absolute perfect games for the Switch. I'm looking forward to playing them as well when they come. I'll probably be playing them on Xbox, obviously for achievements as well. But yeah. Great news.
No, really awesome news. We should say NieR Automata Switch is coming out on the 6th of October. And Persona 5 Royal is going to be the 21st of October. And then with Persona 3 and 4 coming in 2023. I'm actually I've still got PC Game Pass. They're coming for free on PC Game Pass as part of the subscription, but for free, quote unquote. I'm actually, seriously, it sounds nuts. I'm tempted to just buy it on the Switch. From a lifestyle point of view, the Switch is it probably allows me to play games like an extra hour or two because I can just turn it off, put it down straight away. I'm in the lounge room, all this other kind of stuff. It's just, very difficult for me to get dedicated gaming time in dad mode. So
yeah, it makes a lot of sense, especially if you have to commute at all. That's going to be the best way to play that. So
yeah, and I probably need to commute more and more, just with the way things are evolving. I'll probably have to start going back to the office 3 days a week instead of one. I think I am at the moment. So
that's an additional 5 to 6 hours of Persona time.
It's also such a long game. It's like a 150-hour game, right? It's crazy. At least 100-hour game. So I just don't sit down on PC or. I actually play my PlayStation 5 in my PC setup, which sounds weird, but that's the way I play it, just because of the situation I'm in. So I sound like a prisoner or something. And one game that I'm super pumped about and really, really looking forward to getting, and probably the reason why I won't get Persona 5 Royal for a while, because it comes out a day before on the 20th of October, is Mario and Rabbids, or Mario plus Rabbids, Sparks of Hope. So we finally got the release date. And there was also a gameplay video that came out later in the week that I watched. One notable thing that we've put in our notes is the composers, Grant Kirkhope, so that's Mario Rabbids, Banjo-Kazooie fame, Gareth, is it Cocker?
I always say Coker.
I've never said his name out loud.
I always say Coker, but...
Oh, okay, Coker. Ori and Halo Infinite's composer, and then Yoko Shimamura, is that right?
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah, Street Fighter 2 and Kingdom Hearts fame. So pretty damn good composers. But watching the gameplay footage, I didn't realize how different the combat was because they spoke about it more, And it's oh, no. They've gotten rid of the grid completely. You have pretty much free movement. I'm this is really weird. I'm I'm kind of confident in the team. So I'm they've got my trust after the first game. But I'm actually nervous is the wrong way to say it, but I just don't know how it's gonna go. I just don't get it, how they've done it like this and how they've balanced it out to make it work. So it's gonna be really fascinating.
Well, I mean, you've got XCOM and a lot of these games, especially games like Wasteland 2, where they're similar, but there's no specific grid. There might be grid for when you're taking cover and there's specific blocks, but generally they're not played out on a grid all the time. So I think you'll be fine. I think it's probably good for them to mix stuff up, because there's always the first game people can go back to if they want that as well. But one word of warning to people, as part of when we set this show up, I have to help out with some hashtags on our social posts for these clips and everything. Word of warning, be careful looking up any hashtags related to Mario and Rabbids or Sparks of Hope, because there's a lot of people out there making some very unfortunate imagery about some of the new characters.
Rule 34 kind of...
Some very bad stuff out there, so just be careful.
I just think it's funny that you had to look at all that stuff. But you know, that's pretty prevalent in a lot of hashtags. Like I was looking up some Fire Emblem stuff just to like actually learn some stuff about Fire Emblem. I'm like, what are people posting this shit on Twitter? Like it's insane. I'm like, keep clicking. Where's Edelgard? And then the last thing that we wanted to highlight. So I will get this game day one, not Persona 5 Royal, but maybe I don't know. I don't know if it won't ever go on sale. Anyway, my thoughts, inside thoughts rather than outside thoughts. The last game that we looked at and we're like, ooh, okay, this is kind of interesting, was Portal, the companion collection. Portal and Portal 2, incredible games. Definitely would be games that if you had a video game Hall of Fame have to be there, right, Swinny?
Oh yeah, it depends how big the Hall of Fame is, though.
Well, okay, I'll say it like this.
We're talking 100 games. We're talking 200 games.
I'll say it like this though: if Portal and Portal 2 aren't in your Hall of Fame, you haven't defined the Hall of Fame well.
No, I love these games. I'm very happy they're on Switch for people. The thing with these games is, outside of obviously people that are a bit younger, I just almost assume that people have played these games
No, but
already.
they haven't.
And that's the thing. It's like, I think it's great to have another platform. I don't know how much these are actually going for cost-wise, this collection.
It was actually very affordable. So, like, I was just looking at the Australian prices because even I was like, I'm still livid that we didn't put Portal 2 in our 2011 big week. Shut the hell up. It should have been there. It was disgusting that it wasn't there. It's ranked number 3, Portal 2, on the IGN games of all time.
It wasn't in my top 6 games of that year. I love the game, but that year was a busy year.
Fair.
And you chose to do a podcast with people that love RPGs.
I know. I got freaking railroaded big time on that show.
Look, I would give, in hindsight, the fact that you guys weren't over the moon with it, we could, swap in LA Noire for it, because I think that was the game we ended up going with. But
yeah,
I just assumed you guys would probably like that more than you did. So
yeah, well, I wanted to play LA Noire, which is kind of a bad thing. But I did also just assume that Portal 2 was going to make it. So I played it as well. Anyway, 28 Australian dollars for Portal 1 and 2.
Good.
That's a great deal.
Yeah.
That's a bloody great deal. Like, if you have not played these games, play these games. Like, get this on Switch. It'd be awesome.
I kind of wish they would have put Orange Box on as well, like, because we know that there's some Half-Life 2 stuff that's been left in this collection,
so weird,
and people have hacked it to be able to play some of that stuff.
Unbelievable, yeah.
So yeah.
I'm actually really glad they didn't, and I'll tell you why. Because I feel like if they put Orange Box, it actually takes the focus off Portal and puts it all on Half-Life 2.
Well, to me, that's the best game Valve's ever made to me. So I would be all right with that focus being on Half-Life 2.
No, but I just think they could actually release a like Half-Life 2, Ep 1, Ep 2 bundle separately. Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not bad value. $28 for Portal and Portal 2 is insane value. And then also, you'd have Team Fortress 2. Like, what are you going to do? Put Team Fortress 2 on the Switch? I don't think that's going to happen.
No, but to me, it'd be like, okay, you just swap that out for Portal 2 and that's your collection, But anyway, whatever it is.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that. Yeah, that's right. Because of Portal 1, that was on the Orange Box. That's right, yeah. But getting back to this, super cool. Like, I've just beaten Portal 2 recently, and I'm still like, ooh, I guess I'll get a Steam Deck one day, so that'd be really dumb to buy this. But, it's just such a cool game, man. I know like a lot of people have played Portal and Portal 2, but if you haven't, I just feel like it's kind of like a must-play game. So yeah, look, like the direct overall, I think was pretty decent. Interesting, Swinny, because you did say that it's gonna happen a direct. I don't know if that's the direct that they were talking about.
I think it was. Yeah.
Wow, that's pathetic. Then these rumor mongers. I kind of do wonder though when we'll get a proper first party Nintendo Direct.
Well, September makes sense because I think they did a big one last September. So,
yeah.
But Nintendo's also Nintendo. They just do things differently.
Whatever they want. Yeah. I just like the biggest one that still stands out to me is Mario. That we don't know anything about the next Mario game. And did Bowser's Fury really kind of like throw them off, not off course, but kind of like take so much time that is then extended the gap? Because this is now becoming the longest gap between Mario games ever. Which just seems really weird to me. It seems like just Yeah. Why wouldn't they have DLC for Odyssey? I'll never understand that. Nintendo, that's the explanation.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into something I know you would be super keen on, and I'm partially keen.
Yeah. All right. So I'll take this one. So also part of Nintendo Direct, but there's a reason why we split this out, is was the first gameplay trailer for Return to Monkey Island, a game that we talked about when they announced it back on April Fool's Day. Obviously, I'm super pumped for it. I'm a huge fan of the original games, especially the third game, which is, it's Ron Gilbert wasn't behind that one, who's making this one, but it's still beloved. But they announced in the Nintendo Direct that this is a Switch console launch exclusive, which is neat. I think that's really, really cool. It will also be on PC. They already announced that. And I think, we talked, obviously the big part of this is that we're going to lead into is about the art style. On the live reaction, we both said that we actually think the art style is pretty neat.
Yeah, makes sense as well. Makes sense.
Yeah, the more I've watched of it, I actually like it a lot more now. I think especially they've got a really funny website up for it as well. I can't remember. I think it might just be returntomonkeyisland.com or something like that. But even that, it's like has a really. I'm like, okay, I actually like the way that. But basically, it's like I actually like it more the more I see it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that don't like it, and that's absolutely fine. Even Mike chimed in when he watched it, said that he's not a fan, and that's absolutely fine, right? So not everything is for everyone, and I think some stuff will win people over. Like just look at Wind Waker. Like I didn't like the look of Wind Waker when I first saw it, and now I love it.
Yeah. Could we do like a quick role play, Swinny? So you're Ron Gilbert. You've introduced this game. Here's the gameplay. And I'm the gamer who, doesn't like that gameplay. So you go, okay, cool. Click, you've uploaded it. That's your bit.
Yeah.
And this is a normal person who doesn't like that art style. Oh, cool. I'm really excited about this Return to Monkey Island clip. Okay. I'm going, not a fan of that. Okay. I'll move on with my life now. Cool. Awesome. Right. I'll go on to the next thing. That's the end of roleplay.
So I'm just Ron Gilbert. I'm just sitting there.
Well, you didn't do anything, so I was like, all right.
So the unfortunate part about this is that people, you could predict this happening.
Yeah.
Not only took to the comment sections of everything, but also Ron Gilbert's private blog, which is I think Grumpy Gamer, the blog, and started commenting that they didn't like the art style. And some people just like, okay, I'm not a fan, right? And that's fine. That's it's not very constructive, but it's your honest opinion, right? But then a lot of people started saying Ron Gilbert is a hack and doing all these personal attacks and saying that he's ruining the franchise, constant waves of abuse. A lot of it probably people being sent over there and stuff like that, and brigading and stuff like that, to the point where Ron Gilbert actually shut down comments on his blog because he was getting so many attacks. He was having to remove comments, or someone was having to remove them for him. It wouldn't surprise me if he's the one actually moderating that page, because he's probably always the one posting. And I'll just give a statement that he said: I'm shutting down comments. People are just being mean, and I'm having to delete personal attack comments. It's an amazing game, and everyone on the team is very proud of it. Play it or don't play it, but don't ruin it for everyone else. I won't be posting any more about the game. The joy of sharing has been driven from me. And I just need to reiterate, some of these attacks are absolutely horrible stuff. These are not just, okay, I don't like getting criticism, right? These are just people constantly attacking him and personal attacks. And we'll talk about another game this week in a second where it went even a step further, that is abhorrent. But I just want to go back to some previous comments he made about this art style. It probably was about a month ago or so. It was obviously since the reveal on 1st of April. Return to Monkey Island may not be the art style you wanted or were expecting, but it's the art style I wanted. And I think that whole creator vision is the part where people obviously, trying to reason with some of these people is just, it's pointless almost.
Folly. Yeah.
Yeah, but this whole thing about don't ruin it for everyone else, the fact that Ron Gilbert now says, and he might turn around on it, but say, look, he doesn't want to share any more information about the game until it comes out. Now this has just ruined it for people that are true fans and looking forward to the game, whether or not they like the art style or not. Some people still want to play it. And suddenly you've just got this horrible culture of people just feeling like they have a right to attack developers directly about this stuff, that it makes me sometimes, like, even though I've got nothing to do with it, it makes me ashamed to be part of that culture in any form, to be a gamer. And that sucks because this is a hobby, man. Like, games can be art, but at the same time, when you break it down, we play these things for fun.
Exactly.
Or for an experience.
That's the fucked up thing. Like, out of any kind of hobby like that I can think of, it's almost like one of the few that really genuinely, for the core of it, is about fun and amusement. They literally pretty much originate from amusement parlors, right? So the fact that where gaming has gotten to with Gamergate and all this other kind of shit as well, it's like, it is, you know what it's like? It's like, if you, like, I have a lot of friends who are Christian, right? And also like conservative and all this other kind of stuff, right? But I feel like at sometimes they feel almost embarrassed because there's some fucked up people on their side of the fence. And it's like, you're ashamed. It's like you're ashamed of someone in your family or whatever, but it's like their family. So you can't get rid of them, right? And it feels like that. It's like, this is part of the reason why I will find it hard to talk about people at work. I play games and shit because it's like lame shit like this happens all the time in gaming. More so than like movies or music or anything like that. Like, you don't see the parallels. You don't see people accosting like Tom Cruise, oh, when's the next fucking Top Gun coming out, or Kanye West like harassing him constantly, when's the next album? Like, people really want the next album, but it just seems like the culture's so different. It's like, oh, we'll wait for it to come, we're excited, we want to have a listening party, you know, all this kind of stuff. It's like, man, it's such a bad part of the gaming community.
I've seen some people commenting, oh, this is why you have community management teams and like people as a filter between the creators. And it's like, motherfucker, like, that is not solving the issue here, which is the especially with the anonymity of the internet, or a relative anonymity, that people feel like they can do this stuff without any kind of repercussions. And you've got someone like Ron Gilbert, like, think about this. We never ever thought we would get another Monkey Island game from Ron Gilbert. We're getting it from the original creators, from the original composers, with the voice actors. You know, this is a labor of love game, right?
Yeah.
And these motherfuckers are just like, oh, fucking, you're ruining the franchise, you assholes, you know, and like, you're a hack, Ron Gilbert, and all this shit.
Yeah.
You're ruining what is something like, we're lucky to have the fact that this game's coming out, whether or not you want to play it or not. The fact that, like, this is the creators bringing back an old loved franchise, you know.
And also, let's be real, like, these are people who, if you had a magic wand and go, okay, cool, boop, bing, you're in the director's chair now, they would fuck it up so hard. You know that. You know that, right? It's like, what gives you the fucking gall to pretend like you're like, what have you done? Like, the world is so different than it was back then, right? If you've got a really cool idea, why don't you fucking make a game? Back yourself. If you've got such a fucking good idea on how to ruin or not ruin a franchise, like, at least I have some respect for you if you go do it. And then you also go, hey, and you're shit, Ron Gilbert. But by the way, people who are good at those kind of things would never even think or act like that in the first place.
I was listening to Tamor Hussein from Giant Bomb and GameSpot talk about this, and he was saying that thing you just said, but he also said, like, these people just, they haven't got much joy in their life. They get joy out of tearing people down.
Yeah,
and that doesn't always, I'm not saying this is
that, but yeah, go on.
But this is not a thing specific to gaming culture. We know that, right? But it's like, the fact that you feel that you're entitled to go and do those personal attacks to tear people down. What the fuck are you doing, people? Like, have some decency, for fuck's sake. And there's worse. Well, I don't know if we want to get into the God of War stuff now, because I think my rant is just going to amp up on the back of this.
We should get into it. But I mean, like, I don't agree with what you just said. I feel like these people are just dark clouds. You know what I mean? Like, they're just bad news. They're bad vibes. And it's not even like trying to take the joy or anything like that. They have an aura of negativity, and they live in the negativity. Like, and the challenge is, because, you know, without opening the veil too much, you know, like, we also get a lot of shit on YouTube, right? And my whole attitude to it is like, ignore it. Don't engage with it, because it doesn't serve anything. It's like, I just kind of go, I feel sad for these people that they want to rip into us. like we're nobodies on YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
On anything, it's like God, like you really. It's like the low of the low. In a weird way, it's like you're attacking big people. That's one thing, but attacking people who have like no following, it's insane, right? Like people ripping into you with like Assassin's Creed, and I'm like, it's literally subjective. Do you fucking understand what that means? This is not the official. Like we often say the official, or I'll say that. It's a fucking joke, obviously. It's your opinion. How can your opinion be wrong when it's a purely subjective matter? We're not talking about the determination of abortion or something here, people. We're talking about Assassin's Creed Odyssey being the best Assassin's Creed game because that's fucking Swinny's view, you idiots. It's like, but the thing is, yeah, we normally ignore it. I very rarely delete the comments though. I'm happy to keep negative comments up.
Oh yeah,
because I want to show people I don't give a fuck. We're just ignoring it, right? The only ones that's when it's like racist or something like that.
Yeah, or like hateful and
hateful, like explicitly hateful.
So the other related story around this
let's
topic,
keep going.
Is the fact that, and this happened just after because it kind of even got brought into the Monkey Island stuff, was God of War Ragnarok. So we know that there's all rumors, speculation around when is this release date? Is the game delayed? Is it not delayed? And all this like mixed kind of like rumors around it. And what it's kind of led to was you had some outlets like Bloomberg and Jason Schreier saying that they're expecting announcements soon. And you had like other outlets, and then those announcements didn't happen yet. And so what that led is a lot of people just being like, okay, when is it coming, right? Which is, you can ask that stuff. That's fine. Then other people like, I have $60. I deserve to know when this game is coming out, right? So that's the middle. Like you're getting towards the middle. Yeah. Then you've got people sending fucking dick pics and horrible stuff to the developers, and like obviously female developers at Sony Santa Monica Studio, basically demanding them to fucking give them information about God of War. And I've got a quote here from Estelle Tagani. So she's a cinematics producer at Santa Monica. Pro tip, sending me dick pics asking for the God of War Ragnarok release date will not, in fact, get me to reveal the release date. To the people who are doing so, when did that ever work for you?
We're both guys, right? I don't understand the idea of sending, and I'm a guy, right? So it's not even like, I'm a girl, I don't understand it. I'm a guy. I don't understand the idea of like, I don't know this person, or I'm like, I want to meet them or whatever. So I'm going to send a photo of my cock to engage. That's the opening salvo. That's my opening gambit.
And let's be real.
Here's my dick.
For the vast majority of people, fucking penises are ugly anyway. Like, come on, right?
I don't know. Anyway, my gay cousin's pretty keen on it.
Anyway, then we had and this all basically the director Corey Barlog of God of War has been kind of having to manage and communicate a lot of around this stuff.
Not the director of the
week.
new one, but the old one.
Is he not the director?
No.
Is he? He's working on Ragnarok though.
Oh yeah. He's across it as an executive producer or something. Okay, he's not the director.
Okay, or producer then, right? So, in response to that dick pic, he's like, "Are you fucking kidding me with this now? I cannot believe that I have to say this, but don't fucking send dick pics to anyone on this team or anyone in the industry for that matter. They are busting this ass to make some." So I don't know if that I copied and pasted, but basically to make something for you to enjoy, show some fucking respect. Now, that was in direct response to that, but he's been having to just manage the overall pressure, not just the people being horrible with that stuff. And so he's basically just really trying to, and this was a tweet that was also echoed by Phil Spencer, head of Xbox. Oh, yeah,
people started to go real big on these tweets. From
so he's like, the answer is not to find someone to blame or to focus hate on. Maybe just pay it forward and treat the people that make the things we love with some human decency and respect. This is not a battle. We are not at war. We're just trying to make and enjoy things together.
Yeah.
And to the point where I was making notes for the show and everything, and then I saw that even the studio had actually put up a whole thing about this.
Yeah, I've got it up here if you want me to read it out.
Yeah, feel free, man.
Yeah. So this is from Santa Monica Studio. So every single person at Santa Monica Studio is working to create a game that we're proud of, one that we hope you will enjoy playing once released. Our fans inspire us, and we understand the passion and the desire for more information. But that passion should not be toxic nor come at the expense of any human being's dignity. Let's celebrate our community by treating each other every gamer and developer alike with respect. I must admit, like, we've gotten to a pretty sad point where we have to call out at the expense of human beings' dignity just because you want a game to come out or want certainty of when that game's going to come out. Like, fuck me. It's a pretty sad state of affairs, dude.
It's honestly getting harder to express this without sounding like a broken record. I just, again, it makes me shamed to be part of this gaming culture sometimes.
Yeah, well, when this shit happens. So I follow Corey Barlog on Twitter. So I see a lot of his tweets, right? And there's a whole bunch of shit that we haven't even mentioned. Like, he's constantly having to say to people, like, the game is coming. You know, it's all cool. Like, he's like, I feel like they don't want to lock in a date just in case it gets to a point where it's like, shit, now we have to crunch to try to hit this date, right? And I'm totally fine with that. Like, fuck, everyone wants God of War, Ragnarok to come out. That's cool. But, like, I don't know. We're very out of step from and I imagine it's a very small minority of people who actually like this, honestly.
All right. I just need to say, look, you don't like the art style of Monkey Island? That's fine, right? Yeah. Don't abuse people. You don't like it. Don't buy the game if it affects you that much.
Yeah.
Not knowing the fucking release date of God of War. How the fuck does that change your goddamn life?
No, but they're because
not knowing the release. Okay, are you having to plan 6 months ahead of time? You're taking days off to play this goddamn game, and you need 6 months of notice for your work to fucking lock this shit in. How does it change your goddamn life to know the release date, motherfuckers? Seriously, man, this is so goddamn stupid.
Yeah. Well, it is stupid. I can't deny that. You can't defend it. It's stupid. It's bizarre. It's bizarre how people can get so wound up about this shit. But I still feel like it's a minority of people. It's got to be a minority of people. This is a problem with places like Twitter, that they amplify this shit.
Yeah, look, this is obviously like it's social media culture in general, but I mean, it got to the point where you had to have these statements being made, man. Like, it's the things like we don't know all the other channels that they're receiving this stuff from, like privately as well.
Oh yeah.
Fucking
look,
just
I actually seriously worry about the launch of Ragnarok, given what happened with Horizon earlier this year. I think that the game, a similar thing happened to The Last of Us Part 2, right? Where there was a lot of leaking early and people didn't like the story or what happened in the story. And there was almost a movement against the game. And it did actually hurt its numbers, like its sales for sure. And I don't know, man. What are you meant to do? It's really challenging. I genuinely think this kind of shit, you should just look at it and go, this is a minority of people. Block them. Don't engage with those people. But it's very challenging when you have like a cinematics producer go out there and make a statement. You got to back that person. You know what I mean? Like, you have to back them for sure, of course.
But I think at some point, like, there needs to, like, I don't know what it is, but I think at some point there has to be something that happens around this shit, because it's got.
Oh, don't deny that.
Yeah, it's obviously this is far from the first case. It's just the fact that we had these two high profile things happen in the same week, that while it's probably not on the same level of something like, you know, the whole Me Too stuff, but like there needs to almost be like a movement or there needs to be something where even the gamers can take action against this, or like promote this kind of, or not promote, basically not doing this shit, if that makes sense. Like, it just feels like something needs to happen, because I'm just sick of it, man. I'm just so sick of it.
Yeah, well, it's almost like you need to have like mega block lists or something like that, you know what I mean, that you can contribute to if you're verified. And then it's just like, okay, add this dickhead to the block list, and then you just don't see their shit. The challenge, you know, like, we've both been on the internet forever, right? The problem is, if it's like blood in the water with piranhas, right? It's like once you start to show to people your weakness or it's bothering you, there's people out there, and again, it's the super minority, but it's people out there and they fucking go, whoa, we've got them. Like, you know, let's keep on hammering them. And that's what they do. They just keep escalating. They just keep going until they get to a point where they're like, maybe it doesn't bother me anymore. Let's pick a new person. That's the only thing I get worried about, like with Santa Monica. Like, that it might keep escalating. And I totally agree with you. Like, if there's something you can do to stop it, you would do that, right? But I still, like, honestly, I still fundamentally think Twitter does a bad job. Like, they'll kick off people on Twitter, ban them permanently, but then people can say this crazy shit. And it's like, fine. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand that element of Twitter and these kind of platforms. Seems very strange to me. So, all right, you want to move on?
Yeah,
We've
let's
had our
move, on,
rant.
let's move on to something a bit happier.
All right, beautiful. Over to you again.
Yeah, so this week, Square Enix and Tri-Ace dropped a ton of info about Star Ocean: The Divine Force, including the release date. So this is a game that was announced back in October during a Sony State of Play. You guys reacted to it. I was missing for that reaction, and I was probably the only one that would be excited about a new Star Ocean
for
game
sure.
out of all of us. I am not super familiar with the game, so I played a lot of Star Ocean 4, The Last Hope, like over 300 hours of that game. I know the fifth game, Integrity and Faithfulness, is not very well loved by a large percentage of the community, into those games. So a lot of people are hoping the Divine Force is a return to form, and they announced that it's coming 27th of October worldwide. So very soon it's coming out, which we already knew, to PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series consoles. And the achievement list has actually already been picked up by True Achievements pretty early. And it gave me a lot of PTSD because the Last Hope, if anyone's ever hunted for trophies or achievements in that game, would understand where I'm coming from. I was 300 hours down. I was probably another 200 hours from being finished. So
yeah, I remember you talking about this.
it's one of the few games that defeated me just because. But basically, this week they said that they were going to have like some little video presentations, and what they did is they started their series of like mission reports.
Yeah,
and they had a release date trailer, obviously. But what they did is they showcased all the party members that they're going to be in the game, and just like with The Last Hope, I'm not a big fan at all of the art direction and the character models at all. Yeah. And I think it's got the Tri-Ace look where everyone kind of looks doll-like, which is unfortunate, but it is almost par for the course with these games. But what they showed of the combat and what they talked about with the combat, I am super interested in. Like the gameplay, I'm now super looking forward to this game because it just 100% looks like my jam. And coming off the back of Tales of Arise from last year, it just looks just perfect for me in that regard. So what they did is they also talked about the fact that you'll choose between two dual protagonists, and one is almost like more sci-fi setting and the other one's more like fantasy, but they're in the same party together, but it changes the events of the game depending on who you choose. And they actually went quite a bit in. It was only like a 6-minute video, but they talked a lot more about the whole seamless battle system where all the battles take place on the overworld. You don't go to a separate grid like you did in Star Ocean 4. I'm not sure how Star Ocean 5 did it, but they talked a lot about the fact that there's a stop mode, so you can pause at any point, swap to different characters and things, which is cool. And like the other, or at least again, Star Ocean 4, you can swap to any other party member at any time, and they all play completely different. So, and then what they're going to do is they're going to start having more mission reports throughout I don't know if they're going to do them every week or every 2 weeks up until release, but I think the next one will focus a lot more on the actual world traversal. So we know already that you can fly around the world in jetpacks, and it looks really cool. But they'll probably get a lot more into the actual overworld design and everything like that. So look, I'm super pumped for this. It's coming a lot sooner than I expected, even though I think they did say it was coming this year. For some reason, it just feels so quick. Do
you think it's also because there's a bit of a dearth of big new games? So then it's like, it gets more focus in a weird way.
It does. I mean, it's also a very niche series, so it's probably not something that Square Enix, because they'd be the ones in charge of, when they're announcing their stuff, not Tri-Ace. They're probably like, well, we announced in October, essentially it's a year from announcement to release. There's no real reason to announce it earlier than that, Sure. It looked pretty far along when they shown it a while back, or at least the slice they did. But yeah, look, I'm super pumped for this. It's kind of like it's not that I forgot this existed, but it's like I didn't realize how much I just wanted to play another game like this this year, because we went through our most anticipated and it didn't even register for me, Divine Force. So, but now it's definitely up there. So
yeah. I don't think I would have had like things like Sunbreak on there, but I became addicted to it. So yeah, that does we almost need a mid-year refresh. Yeah. I do think like, just on the Switch again, not having something like a Switch Pro, this is where it actually starts to hurt them. Because this kind of game, and just in general, so many games are now because of the pandemic and the unavailability of the next gen consoles. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep calling them next gen until games stop releasing on the last gen of consoles, right?
Yeah.
But if they had a Switch Pro, I think realistically-ish, some of these games could go on a Switch Pro because it's probably would be the same power as like a base PS4. You know what I mean? Ballpark. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I imagine you could squeeze this on a slightly more powerful Switch, but I
Yeah.
think the fact that all the battles take place in the overworld, like if it took you away to a separate like little battle arena,
yeah.
100%, like you could probably get away with that on the regular Switch if you downgraded the overworld graphics a bit.
Yeah. But that's the thing. You don't want to be
it's
doing like multiple versions and all that kind of stuff. It's
yeah,
like a nightmare.
yeah.
So yeah.
But
Okay. Interesting.
yeah,
Nice.
I just say for the fans, I just hope that it's a lot better than the last game as well, because people were really let down by it. So
Yes. Let's hope. And our last news story. So one of our favorite games in recent years, Morai's game Monster Sanctuary, got a big free update this week called Forgotten Worlds. What's it all about? So this update came on all platforms: PC, PlayStation, Switch, Xbox. It actually accidentally released early on Switch. And they were like, this was unintentional. Please keep spoilers to a minimum. It's like, I don't think they could do anything about it. It introduces a new late game area accessible from the Horizon Beach location. Players will need a Setsune or a Thanatos, in your party to be able to enter the Forgotten World, and a Koi for the swimming ability. So it's recommended that you tackle this after you complete the main game. So do you reckon you're going to jump into this, Swinny? And I know we've got a bunch of other facts about the big update.
yeah, the thing for me is I'm still didn't reach the end of the game yet, the base game before, because they've added a bunch of stuff in since then. But what I love about this, and as you said, we'll get into the details, is just the fact that Morai Games are supporting this game so well. We had some slight criticisms, and you reviewed this game for Vooks.net, but there were some balancing issues, or at least for people that weren't like looking up all like optimal strategies and things like that. And they've fixed all that stuff over time. They've made adjustments, and I think it's great.
Well, yeah, but I think like one thing that turned me off a little bit about it is, and look, this is just a choice that you make as a dev, right? So it's kind of like, I don't agree, but move on. So with the balancing, they did balance it a bit, but it's still on the a little bit unforgiving side, in my opinion. And you still have the situation where you kind of need to like rebuild parties and like build them up if you haven't like picked the optimal party structure. And I just kind of, I just got to say straight up, I kind of hate when games do that. Like where it's sort of like, oh shit, if I'd known this, then I'm really stuffed. Especially if you're not playing in a really, really dumb way. You know what I mean? Like it's different if the game is kind of incentivizing you to mix your party up and do different things, and you don't do it. You just ignore it and try to do one style. I kind of get, maybe you get punished for that, but that was kind of the thing that was like, kind of annoys me about this game. But I don't know, with this new update, the other thing they did was they actually updated a bunch of the monsters, the artwork. I don't know if you saw that. So like a lot of the base monsters, they started tweaking the hell out of them. And they look, actually, it's like really cool what they've done with it. Like it's not like, oh, okay, no, that looks worse. It's like pretty much across the board. I'm like, oh, yeah, that looks like a lot better. That's kind of crazy.
If you're saying that, we should just cover what the actual DLC contains.
All right, yeah, go on.
So the new area that it contains like 9 new ancient monsters, and apparently a new optional champion monster. Has new legendary keepers to battle, new skill nodes for all monsters in the game, and 78 new skills. Has 3 new game modes that are obviously optional, which is randomizer, permadeath, and bravery mode. Which there were details, I just can't remember exactly what they were. I think
why do they want to make it so much harder? It's great.
No, I think the thing is like you've got things like, and they've even got guides out there for like doing Nuzlocke challenges, which the famous Pokemon challenge. Look, these updates are really for people, for the fans, those kind of things that just want an official way to do that stuff. And they've also added a whole bunch of quality of life fixes, a bunch of new equipment items, and they've increased the level cap. So some really, really cool stuff there, considering this is a free update. You've got to keep that in mind, like the fact they've added all this in, and this is a small developer.
Oh yeah, it's just like
I
two
think it's
people.
great.
It's crazy. Yeah. No, it's really, really awesome. We should, look, if you are going to jump back into it, let me know. So then I'll think about jumping back into it as well.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah, sweet. Awesome. All right. That's the end of the news. All right. Well, as we normally do, we round out the news. And the way we wrap up the news is we bring up a counter on stream. Swinny has a minute to go through all the other updates that we have. And he's truly sick of this segment, hosting it. But if Mike's not there, you're going to be hosting this, right?
I don't know if sick is the right word. It's more that I think I'm just happy to hand it over for a bit to someone else, But
someone else,
it's
fine. Mike. It's between you and Mike. I'm not doing it.
We'll see.
No, I'm not doing it. No way, man.
All right, cool.
As normal, I'll give you, whenever you start, then I'll click.
Konami have announced Super Bomberman R2. Sabotage Studios' Sea of Stars has been delayed to 2023. The dog shit 13 remake is getting a massive overhaul by a different developer. EA have shown off early Skate 4 footage and recruiting playtesters. Wizard Battle Royale Spellbreak will be shutting down early next year, and developer Proletariat has been acquired by Blizzard to work on World of Warcraft. Valve have ramped up production of the Steam Deck by double each week, but in doing so have downgraded the system's SSD specs. Nintendo have increased their data security following this massive 2020 Giga League. Switch Online's latest Mega Drive Genesis update adds Zero Wing, Comic Zone, Target Earth, and Mega Man: The Wily Wars. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R has revealed 3 new characters: Yukako, Part 4, Jotaro, and Foo Fighters. Persona 5 on Xbox and Windows Store will include all 45 DLC items for free. No confirmation this is the same for PS4, Steam, and Switch releases. According to newly translated interviews, Shigeru Miyamoto initially cringed at Wind Waker's art style and asked for a redesign. Atari turned 50 this week and probably gifted themselves NFT-powered speaker hats. And finally, Hideo Kojima's claims he shelved the game concept due to its similarity to comic book and TV show The Boys. You're on mute.
I said, well done, dude. Sorry, yeah, good call out. I feel like I'm in a Teams meeting at work or something.
Sorry, I'm just for once I'm going to start mid-sentence of what you're saying.
I was my throat has been insanely bad the last few days. So I'm amazed that it came good enough that we could do the show, and then I'm just starting to lose it because I was laughing at you. You sort of saying dog shit.
My and also my inclusion of the JoJo stuff almost was my downfall because
Yes.
I screwed up over All-Star Battle R.
I think you're gonna be able to get up to 240 words, just by the maths of how you're going recently. But you're gonna be flying through. But it's just one stumble, then you're gonna be fucked, right? So.
All right. Well, I'll let you have first pick. What do you want to quickly mention? What do you want to talk about?
The Steam Deck thing, is that right that they shipped models to people without so they ordered a version of the Steam Deck that they did not receive effectively. Is that right?
Well, that's what I've read, because
that seems
the thing
man.
is also, with some context, I think some models will still have the higher bandwidth. It's the speed of the SSD stuff to put in there. I'm not getting into technical terms. I'm not technical about that stuff either. It's just that some are downgraded, and the official specs of the Steam Deck, when you go to purchase or pre-order one, now have the lower specs. And they did that back in May. Yeah. And it only started to blow up. Obviously, the community heard about it, but started to blow up, when the biggest sites and everything started to report on it.
But I hope
they're giving people a chance to cancel the pre-order, because it's not the product they're exactly getting,
No, but that's what I want to be clear on. Are we saying that I read the specs and it had the ×4, so PCIe Gen 3 X4. I ordered that, and then I received one that actually had an X2. Is that what happened? Or is it that they changed the specs and started shipping out ones post that date? Because I think there's a huge difference between those two things.
There is a huge difference, but when I couldn't see anything that said that they were only doing it, for instance, for people that ordered from that date onwards.
Oh, okay.
I could be definitely wrong, but even then, look, okay, fair enough. Consoles and handhelds, they changed over time, right? Some of them, sometimes they'll upgrade, sometimes they'll downgrade. But I just really hope that the Valve, who are generally great with consumers and stuff, I just hope they are doing the right thing with this and handling it in the right way. So,
yeah, I just think that's total bullshit if that's what they've done. Because, I was saying to you guys in our chat that the Switch when it launched, there was two types of displays you could get, and almost everyone would say one is better than the other when you look at them side by side. But it was never advertised as Switch as like it had this panel. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And like them turning around and going, "Oh, it like we've tested all the games and they don't like there's no difference." Well, okay, but also in the future maybe that won't be the case, because why would there be a difference in the first place, right?
Well, are they also talking about loading times then? You know,
Yeah,
things like that.
but
you know?
but with this like 2x 4x, it's a bit about the bandwidth. It's like people haven't started like making games to take advantage of that stuff. So what happens if they do? And then you're on the two. Like I just think it's total bullshit. If I ordered it and it was like that's how it was advertised, and then I get something else, I feel like I don't know, man. That's just like for me pretty black and white. Now, like now that they have this update, like I'd still order it personally, right? It doesn't bother me. But I just think, yeah, it's pretty different if I ordered it and then they changed it on me. I'm like, that's fucked. So,
well, the one I want to mention, well, there's a few, but the
Yeah.
first one I want to mention is this game here, which is 13. I have the GameCube. I'm a huge fan of the original 13 game. I was actually interested in playing the remake until I started seeing the horrible reviews and the state. If anyone wants a really good breakdown, Matt McMuscles has done a great what happened on the 13 remake. So the fact that Microids, who were the publisher, obviously knew how bad it was, and they patched that game to hell as well, that they're like, okay, we're going to get a different developer to come back and overhaul, because they stripped a lot of the cel-shaded art style from it. Basically, that was the hook of the game. It looked like a cool comic book. So that's wild to me.
Yeah. No, that was interesting the way that whole thing was handled. It's also very weird, like these kind of cheaper remakes, like you know, with GTA 3. What is it called again? GTA the trilogy, I think it's called
Definitive Edition or something.
Yeah,
There's a definitive
Edition,
edition in there something.
I just always think of it as GTA 3 trilogy, just because it's like those games came out and then GTA 4 came out, so it's almost like, to me, it's almost Street Fighter 2 Turbo, blah blah blah. But you know, what the fuck is going on with these type of remakes? It's kind of wild, man. It's that's the most shameful. That one, I don't think that will ever get topped in my view. What they did with that, and it has not improved to a level where it should be at. But
I also I messaged you the other day, thinking it was great news. I'm like, Sea of Stars is coming out 2023 with. And that it was actually a delay announcement. It was actually originally announced. I didn't know that. So I'm like, oh, hell yeah. I wasn't going, hell yeah, it's been delayed to next year.
no, I just thought that you were like, oh, you know, you're excited about the game. And
I am excited about the game, but I didn't know the context that it was actually in it. I thought it was them making official announcement. But yes, that's cool. So that's the Messenger developers making a Chrono Trigger style game that's technically a prequel.
I think we're all excited about that game. But I think we're all in the same camp that if games get delayed, okay, like that just means they're going to be better rather than be shit and be released. The other one that I wanted to like raise with the Kojima thing of like a show that I really love, The Boys. It's like literally the only show I watch. I don't watch any other TV. And I would love to see what this was. He needs to release more.
So while you're coughing, I'll just say he said that he watched the first 3 episodes and then fell off, which is funny, of season 1.
That's like you.
It's kind of like me.
Yeah. It's a great show. I get that it's not everyone's cup of tea, but to me, it's fucking awesome TV.
I had to put the JoJo's news in here, also because when we were talking about it, when they announced it, I'm like, man, we've got to put Foo Fighters or FF in, and you're Foo Fighters, what the hell? Because it's obviously anyone that doesn't know JoJo wouldn't click. They're all based on band names and stuff. But yeah, so
I know it's a band name, but I'm saying how the fuck could they put a band name in there? That's weird.
Yeah. So I think there's might be 3 more characters that they're due to reveal, and we already know 2 of them. So because they leaked. So basically, I'll see what the last one is, but I'm really excited to play that. It's unfortunate it doesn't have like rollback netcode for the people that want to play it online, which sucks. But
it doesn't.
It's not the kind of I'm just going to play that game through for the story and stuff. I'm not playing for a technical fighting game, but yeah.
No, but outside of that, like I was a bit surprised about the Miyamoto thing of him cringing at the Wind Waker artwork. I'm like, oh, art style. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
So there is more to the story, and it
Hmm.
came from Did You Know Gaming. They're the ones that did a video where they commissioned a whole bunch of translations
Oh,
from
cool.
older magazines, like a lot. And there's a whole bunch of stuff around Wind Waker that I recommend to check that out.
Oh, yeah,
But the
well.
big headline was that one, obviously, that the site's picked up on. Because honestly, I know when that art style came about, I know Miyamoto. Well, at the time, I probably still thought Miyamoto was handling it all, but
That's what I thought as well.
But it was like it felt like a very Miyamoto thing to do.
Yes,
So
100%.
yeah, it's really interesting that it was kind of the opposite. But
Yeah, I was very surprised about that as well. Like, I was the exact same camp as you. I thought he would have been fully across that. And also, how far along was the game before he actually saw it?
well, in that video, they're saying that they actually hid it from him a bit longer than they would normally a game
so
because they wanted it to be far enough along where
But
it was
he couldn't change
almost you almost couldn't change
That's
it.
awesome.
Now again, I don't like this is them translating stuff. I don't know where all the quotes are coming from
Yeah.
within those interviews. So it's all kind of like take it,
But it's
Face value.
totally believable. Like, I do that kind of
Yeah,
shit at work. I'll do something
Yeah.
just enough where it's like, are you really going to make that decision? Because we've already spent like
Yeah.
$10 million doing this. It's like, oh, okay, we'll fucking do it. I'm not happy.
and the last thing is I mentioned. And I sped really quick through this. I hope that all those additional DLC items for Persona 5 are available for all the other versions, not just the Xbox and Windows Store versions.
But what are they? Like, are they?
So there's lots of costumes. I think
Yeah,
there's an
yeah,
extra.
who cares?
There's an extra. Yeah, but I mean these are still additional value. Like you're talking 45
Yeah,
items, even if they're at like $1 each, that's still a decent amount of
Yeah,
backed
like
in. So
special and background sounds and all this. It's all the little tiny shit that, some people will be really happy with, I guess. Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap up the show. Next week, is Mike going to be back? Do we think he's going to be back?
It's return of the mic. It is return of the mic.
Come on.
Return of the mic.
Oh, God.
Can't remember the next line. Yes. So hopefully Mike is back next week. He's obviously wasn't on our live reaction in the last two episodes. He's
So he's
very
missed
busy.
3 appearances on the show.
He has missed
That
3
bastard.
appearances. And I mentioned earlier in the show, if I manage, well, I will talk about Dolmen next week. It's just whether or not it's an impressions or review, depending on how far I get along. Because that game, it's not that easy. So we'll see.
We might need to bump him off the show, Swinny. I'm a brutal capitalist. We might have to sub in Mitza from the chat or Joe Jives. I'm open.
We'll get Joe Jives on. He'll just all he'll add to the show is just playing soundboard clips, I think. So.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Amazingly more disruptive than Mike. I was thinking we could commission a reality show. You know, who wants to join Big Week in Gaming? And then Mike will be shocked about this gaming show. And do you think Mike listens to the show, given that he's not on it? So it's like, what one thing about repeating the same conversation?
I think he might check out a little bit if they show up on his feed on YouTube, especially if it's a topic that he's interested in. For instance, like he watched part of our live reaction to the
did,
Nintendo
yeah.
Mini Direct, so I don't want to say he doesn't watch it because he watches some stuff. So
I just wonder if we can say derogatory and defamatory things about him and like lace it in just to see what he listens to and what he doesn't.
have you not learnt to just watch whatever you say on the internet because it's all recorded
I have.
forever,
I'm-
ever and ever?
I'm very
and ever.
good. I'm very good. You're good as well. I tried to get you to do a few impressions that you you refused to do, which I think, for an audio podcast mainly is very offensive to the audience.
Thank you. No, I'm thanking you, but I'm just thanking you.
You just don't know what to say. All right, I don't have anything else, do you?
No, let's shut this bugger down.
Whoa. Hang on. All right. With that, bye-bye.
See ya.